Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. All right. Well, I know Renee's here. I don't know if anybody else is here. I can see a couple people on here. How do I sound? Too loud? Just right? Let me know. Let me know if we're good to go. Let's see. I think we should be good. Sound is okay. Just okay. All right, well, I was aiming for better than okay, but I guess okay works. Okay is okay. Let's see here. All right. Well, I'm going to wait a couple seconds here, see if other people roll in. We have a few people on, so I will give some props to the people that are here on time and early. So that's looks like Mike D and German and Renee. Hello, hello. First live stream in a long while here, and just gonna kind of wing it here. We're just gonna talk about what I've been up to, other than the rat rig, which is behind me. I had to put it down on the floor because it was too big to keep on the desk while I did this, but we can talk about that too. If you've been to my live streams before, or if this is your first time, and I'll repeat this a couple times during the start of all this, I prefer if you guys kind of drive the show in terms of you know, topics and things like that. It's pretty much a pick my brain or see what I've been up to. I fill in the blanks when there's nothing going on with things that I want to talk about. But beyond that, it's kind of a cool time to get together and have people share their ideas with each other and me as well. So let's see here. I'm on a tablet, so I can hear you just fine. Not sure what the other fellas. Okay, yeah, so if I sound good on a tablet, probably just fine. And actually, that's a that's a good question, because I get analytics on YouTube, and they tell me like how people watch my videos, but I'm always interested because I have a higher than normal amount of people that watch on a computer or on a TV. So if you think of it, or if you want to, if you're on the chat, if you're able to, let me know what you're watching on, because it does make a difference. Makes a difference on, you know, whether or not I put barcodes up or links, because, you know, you can't click on a link in a description if you're not on a computer or a tablet or a phone. I literally just had dinner about 5 minutes ago. It was a mad rush. Very upset with Chipotle at the moment, but that's besides the point. Let's see here. Yeah. So anyways, guys, hello. How we doing? How are you guys? Usually watch on TV and chat on YouTube app on my phone. That's an awesome way to do it. Nick is here. I haven't seen Nick in forever. But then again, haven't done any live streams in a little while. So it's nice to see you, Nick. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Everybody in the States, happy Thanksgiving as well. We're one day late. People in Canada, Boxing Day, people around the world. Just another great day, right? Thumbs up, Nick, thank you. So, yeah, so like I said before, a few moments ago, kind of, you know, you guys drive the conversation, but I'll fill in the blanks when things are slow. So without any further ado, let's go. So I wanted to bring my, this is heavier than I thought it was too, bring my Trident out and kind of go over a couple things with it, because I never got to finish the stream because I had, you know, surgery on my arm. A little scar right there if you haven't seen it. Let me get my stuff situated here. Little scar right there if you haven't seen that. it's kind of disgusting and gross and all that, but I figured I'd share it. So I didn't really get to share exactly how this build finished up. And there are probably a half dozen cool things that I started doing or I hadn't done when I kind of teetered off on being able to build this. On top of that, if you haven't been watching videos because you only watch live streams, you can notice that my setup is kind of completely changed. I had to do that so I could build a rat rig. So yeah, so this is my Trident, and first and foremost, I love it. It works very well. I think lead screws for at least me and the setup that I have and the way I have it tuned tend to lead to slightly more precision overall with layer heights and just in general. I did go with a tap again on this, which is now becoming kind of a less and less favorable way of going with things. People are kind of going back to other things. I guess nobody's really doing induction probes anymore. But eddy current probes and things like that are becoming really popular. I kind of understand it, but at the same time I don't. Every once in a while I'm going to pause, just look at the comments on the screen here. So thumbs up, Beacon, sorry. Beacon, yes. Beacon probe and the eddy, and there's a couple other ones too. I forget what the other ones are. There's one, what's the other one called? Yeah, no matter. Yeah, so those are really cool. I mean, the rat rig has them on the IDEX. There's going to be 2 of them on there, and they're cool little probes, and they make sense on the IDEX. On this guy, and I'm going to kind of move this a little bit like this, and we're going to go like that. So on this guy, I got to print first of all. I got to take this out. Take that out. So this is using the Mandela Roseworks, and based on the information I had originally, the information that was given to me from multiple sources, the Mandela Roseworks bed, which is, you know, basically has magnets built into it, you know, it's not supposed to work, but if you go into the Beacon's information about it, and you look at the touch application versus the actually eddy probing for it, and the touch probing, according to their own documentation, and it may have changed by now, but back when I was kind of fiddling with this, says that it should work. It's not as prone to having mishaps with these magnets. I will tell you that that is not true. It did not work for me. Maybe it's based on how strong these magnets are. I did go to the extent where I took this center magnet right here, and I heated it up to reduce the magnetism on it some to see if that made a difference. It did not. So I basically also went ahead and I removed 5 of the magnets at one point in time and had avoidance on the other 4. Couldn't get that to work properly either. So wasn't a big fan of the Beacon on this. And then on top of all this, this is a Mandela Roseworks flatbed. So it's extremely flat to start off with. It has the magnets in it, so there's no magnet sheet, no 3M sheet on top of it. So we're starting with basically the, you know, I would say the best of the best, or close to it. So when it came down to it, I didn't really need to be able to probe it in the way that you know, the Beacon would provide. So this is using the you know, basically our tap probe. And this is actually using Vitali tap, which is a full aluminum tap. And it works really well. It's really solid, a lot more solid, and I know you can't see it in there, but when I turn this back around, you will. A lot more solid than the Chaotic Labs, a lot more solid than the printed version. Just a nice all-around unit. This is also on a Kinemax mount, which is a whole nother thing. And in a second, I'll check comments, see if anybody has any questions about what I've gone over so far. But all in all, I'm happy with the tap. It works very well for me. I have no issues. I do not probe the whole bed before every print. Again, with this particular bed from Mandela Roseworks, who I purchased those things through KB3D. He sells them. You can buy them directly through Mandela as well. But KB3D is a very good source, easy to get them to, easy to work with Chris over there. I do have basically affiliate links with them. So in the description on the site, maybe when I go back and go through the description of this video, I'll add my affiliate link on there, which for most products, if you use those links, will get you 5% off when you buy through them, at least right now, current as of today, November of 2025. But got to say all this stuff just so you don't get in trouble in terms of, you know, sending you someplace. But yeah, so with this bed on this printer, with the magnets, the beacon didn't work very well. Tap works just fine. I have no issues whatsoever. I'm gonna kind of slide this away for a second so I can get back onto this camera view here and see what we got up here for comments so far. Yeah, Cutographer. That's exactly the one I was thinking of. Thank you. So I have a Voron 2.4. Tell me which you find better when it comes to build difficulty, speed of prints, accuracy. Which one would you build if you were a new builder? And then Trident is supposed to be slightly easier than 2.4. So, excuse me. I would agree with that. The Trident is slightly easier than 2.4. Not because of moving parts, but because of the lack of the flying gantry on the 2.4. You're not dealing with as much mass moving around. You know, you have a bed that's on basically your lead screws, and lead screws are very, very good at moving heavy items such as a whole bed. And I know when we talk about heavy, we're not actually talking about hundreds of pounds or anything like that. But in the case of a printer like this, I'll rotate this again. I'll probably slide in the front. But when it comes to a printer like this, the lead screws on the bed, having the bed actually move, I prefer. The gantry, there's some benefits to gantry, especially if you want to go multi-tool heads at some point. You can do it with a Trident. There are systems where you can do that. But with a flying gantry, it allows you to move up and down, so you can move up, grab a new head, move back down. That's pretty cool. But overall, I would say because of the lack of a flying gantry, not only is the build a little bit easier, but I think tuning is a little bit easier. I'm trying to think if there's anything else specific that would make it easier or less. In terms of print quality, you know, this right here, and I'll see, maybe I can throw it on my camera up here. This right here is just standard PLA, black. I know black sometimes shows stuff, sometimes doesn't. And this is actually just a camera mount I was making for the camera that's over my shoulder, actually the one that's over there. So I can get it higher up for the rat rig videos. I was making these today because I've been practicing CAD, which is a whole nother thing, right? But anyways, these prints come out great. PLA, you know, PLA is pretty easy to start off with, and I only print them with PLA because I just wanted to do them quick. But basically, when it comes down to it, these prints have come out awesome. You know, layer adhesion has been great, but that's all in the tuning, really. So, you know, I would say a 2.4 is slightly harder, again, than the Trident, just because of the flying gantry. Tuning, I think having the bed move up and down rather than the whole gantry moving up and down is a better for tuning as well. I think there's less overall vibrations when it comes down to it. This has been tuned. This has been tuned. You know, basically it's dampened. Everything's good. In terms of prints, you know, like something like this took, I mean, I can tell you millimeters per second, but it really doesn't help much because then you also have flow issues and stuff like that. This is running a Revo high flow, but that's limited to what the Revo high flow can do. But this is about an hour, I think an hour and 15-minute print, and this is pretty solid. This is 5, 5, 5, 5 bottoms, 5 tops, 5 walls. So it's meant to be pretty rugged, but with a flex in the front of it, so I can, like I said, mount cameras on that. So let's see here. Trident's supposed to be slightly, also upgrade to IDEX in the future might be better option. 2.4 floating gantry. Yeah, exactly. You know, the big thing about an IDEX printer in general, and hold on a second, my TV's about to yell at me here. With IDEX, there's one thing I say about IDEX, and generally about IDEX, is if you're going to build IDEX printer, 350 frame, 300 printer. Or in general, you know, even if you're going to do a multi-print head printer, it makes it a lot easier. And I'm not throwing this back to Chris over at KB3D again, but any place where you can buy You know, kits in portions, meaning you can buy like an LDO frame kit and then an electronics kit, which also could be LDO, but that would allow you to buy like a 350 frame. And then basically, then you could possibly, depending on how you can do it, you can find modifications or files out there, STLs already, where you can basically build a smaller printer inside of a bigger box, which will allow you and give you more, we'll say room, literally, to do stuff like IDEX. Because the biggest problem with a printer like this, in general, any printer, is they're designed, unless they're designed to be IDEX or multi-tool head, is you're either going to lose build space because you have to have stuff in there that's not really meant to be in there, or you're going to basically wind up not being able to do the things you want to do. So when you go with a slightly bigger printer, you know, like I said, if you do a 350 on this, if I did a 350 Trident with a 300 bed, that would afford you the ability to be able to have an extra room there. And if you're doing IDEX, you can have one parked on the side without affecting the other one and bumping into it on the side, which would be nice. So that'd be something I would consider if you are doing that. And that's part of the reason why the Rat Rig VCore 4 IDEX that I have down there is so huge. I mean, it's literally, you know, 32 inches by I think 46. So it's almost 4 feet tall, almost 3 foot tall by 3 foot tall. So barely fits through a normal door. And that's a lot of that's just basically so it can fit the IDEX. I mean, it does have a 500 millimeter bed on it, but it's much larger than the 500 millimeter bed because it needs to be able to, you know, fit that additional machinery, the equipment in there to be able to do the IDEX. So let's see here. I have a brand new inbox Trident from LDO. Very intrigued by the inverted electronics. For ease of build and maintenance, did you do inverted mod, and would you recommend it for a new builder? Awesome. Great question. Very timely too. We're going to scoot around the desk here because yes, this printer does indeed have inverted electronics. I think I'll start in this camera right here. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see because it's pretty dark in there. So we'll probably switch to another camera, but let's see what we can see here. This does 100% have inverted electronics in it. Now let me see if I can kind of situate this in a way. Got limited space. So, yeah. So for people that don't know, and first things first, bear with me. I get that bed back up. Stand by. People that don't know inverted electronics, and I would think just about anybody that's probably watching this particular stream probably knows what that means, but inverted electronics basically means that your electronics, which are normally gotten to and mounted on the underside of the printer, so that you basically have to flip the printer over or lean it on its back or its side to get to, are basically able to be gotten to from the inside of the unit, you know, right on the inside of the printer. So I had to get the bed up all the way because I have AGM sheets in here, and this is inverted. This panel right here comes out like this, tilted at roughly 40 degree, 45 degree angle, like that. It's like that. It's the same panel you normally get. And on the inside here, you have inverted electronics. So all my electronics are able to get to right here. And as a matter of fact, I took this out because I hadn't gotten this in there yet, but I made a high voltage cover to go back here, which I'm going to put in there some point soon to cover up the AC voltage in the back left corner. When I build a printer, and I think when a lot of people build printers, at least now, we try to keep the AC stuff away from the DC stuff and try to keep protected, because the last thing you want to do is touch something that's, you know, 120 volts, 240 volts, depending on where you're at, 230 actually, depending on where you are in the world. You'll also see I have two power supplies in here. Just build in general on this printer. It's a 24 volt and a 48 volt power supply. I'm actually running 48 volts to my A and B drives on here, so I can really make this thing rip if I want to. Let's see here. We're using the Leviathan MCU on this, which has a Pi 4 mounted on top of it. And then I have a buck converter with a custom made little container for that, because on the inside of this is actually black lights. They're black LED lights. and the orange on here, and maybe I can turn off the lights. You guys cool? Do you want me to turn off the lights? You guys want to see it? I think it's cool. I'm going to show you. Let me turn off the lights here. It's going to seem weird I'm turning off the lights, but trust me, it's pretty cool. I guess first let me turn up the lights inside the unit. So, turn these up all the way. There we go. It's hard to see with all these lights on because I got semi-bright studio lights, but when I take this, and let me park that in the back. Let's see here. Oh. All right, put that right about there. I'm going to turn off these lights. You're going to see, because there's black lights on the inside, I picked a type of ASA or ABS, one of the two, that actually has a really good day glow effect on it. So let's turn these off. And you can see why I call it the Ghost Trident, because it glows like a ghost. And if I was printing right now, it would just blur. It's pretty cool. So it's pretty dark in there. On top of that, and I know we're kind of in the dark right now, it looks kind of funny, but on top of that, when I close these panels, these are blackout panels, the only thing you can really see is the ghost of the quote-unquote Ghost Trident kind of buzzing around in there. So that's why I did that. So I think I'd show you that real quick, because I do think that's awesome. I definitely do that again too as an effect. Inverted electronics, again, yes, I would definitely do inverted electronics again. It's really cool. I even got a custom little place down here where I keep additional nozzles. So if I want to switch out a nozzle, I can come in here and get them. In terms of whether or not I do it as a newbie or somebody that hasn't built a printer before, I have a problem in general, and I'm kind of opinionated, but I have a problem in general with a lot of the instructions for printers, and especially for the instructions for modifications to printers, because the people that do the modifications really, they mostly do it for free. So they don't spend a ton of time usually to provide really good documentation on how to do them. And a lot of these printers also, like the Voron crew, they don't necessarily charge anything for their printers either, but there's been a long time and a lot of work gone into them, and it's been over a long period of time, years really. So a lot of the modifications that come up with the printers don't get the same care that the whole printer gets, if that makes sense. So it can become confusing when you're a new builder and you're kind of starting with a build manual for a complete printer, and then you basically slide off the track and then you start doing a modification because you're kind of like exiting that build manual, closing the curtain, doing the other stuff, and then coming back with that curtain open to continue in the build manual. But there's things that won't be the same. Things will be changed. There'll be things that may or may not make sense to the average person. So it's hard to say. Hopefully that kind of answers that question. But let's see here. Still stealth burner. I'm already saying, yeah. So that is still a stealth burner. I actually like the looks of the stealth burner. And I don't have a problem with it. The only issue I would say in general, and again, it goes back to that thing I was just saying a moment ago about the build manuals. And the stealth burner is kind of its own separate thing, and you could put an ant head on there. You could do, one of 1,000, no, not 1,000, but there's probably, a good 5-6 different extruders you can put on. And then probably for the whole tool head, there's probably another, 10 or so different tool heads that you put on there and mount different extruders to. But I do like the stealth burner. The only issue with stealth burner in general is if you're trying to print really quickly, is the fact that the cooling's not great on it. But I don't print a ton with like PLA or PETG. Most of my printing is usually ABS or ASA. I don't do a ton of overhangs. I like to design stuff in CAD and print stuff where I don't have to really worry about overhangs all that much. I usually don't do a lot of bridging and things like that, but it gets me by for the things I do when I need to do them. Other than that, it's just a clean look. It's built, it matches the printer styling. I did go with different idlers on the front here. These are actual idlers that I modified myself. There were Rama's idlers that were modified to be stronger. And these ones have a lot more room in them for play. In other words, I have, I don't know if you can see there, but I can put my whole finger in there with the amount of adjustment I have available to me on these. So you know, good complete centimeter. They're not all the way to the back right now, but I can fit probably another whole centimeter of pulling them forward. And I used M5 screws to be able to do that too. And then the other thing is if you're familiar with the front idlers on a Voron printer, the M5 nuts that are on the carriages on the inside are on the back side of the plastic, and not, you know, not on the front, and not being heat inserts. So you're basically pulling the plastic from the back as opposed to pulling the plastic apart, which is really neat. I am using an umbilical on this, which is a little bit offside of the actual normal build. And I will tell you that I don't know if I would do an umbilical again. I've never had an issue. You can see my other printer back here, and I'll slide this aside eventually, but I don't have an umbilical on the other printer. On my other, that's a 2.4 back there, and I have another 2.4, and I also have a V0 back here. But I've never had an issue with cable chain. I have had one wire break ever, and it was not inside the cable chain. It was actually, well, it was, but it was right near the end of the cable chain, so I was able to repair that, and tracking down was kind of a pain. But same thing can happen with umbilical. And the biggest issue I have with the Trident, specifically with an umbilical, is you don't have a lot of room here at the top. So your umbilical's off to the side, laying sideways. And whenever I print anything that's on the back left-hand corner here, it's kind of iffy, especially since I'm using a tap, because there's some things that happen that I don't like. So I'm not a huge fan of the umbilical in general. It's not bad, it's not good. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I am a big fan of using USB or, to a lesser extent, CAN on your printer, on your tool head, just to lessen up the amount of wires that are there. Originally, when that stuff first came out, especially the CAN stuff, I was against it because it added another layer of troubleshooting. Yeah, you lessen the amount of wires, but basically with wires, it's great because you got this end, you got this end. Do you have continuity? Cool. This end, continuity? Cool. This end, continuity? Cool. When you go CAN, you go USB, you lose that. You have, you know, your two communication wires, and you have continuity there. Then you got to work backwards and see if it's software, and then work backwards from there and see if it's something happening with your converter. There's a lot of stuff that can happen, which is why I like USB a little bit better, because basically all you're doing is putting a separate MCU up there that's actually USB, the same way that the primary controllers are inside these printers, which are USB usually to a Pi or something similar. Let's see here. Stealth burner, or did you do anything else? Your tool head, yeah, just the umbilical, really. Thanks very much. Hey, you're more than welcome. Ask more questions. That's why we're here. That's why we're going over this thing, because I kind of left people high and dry, to be honest. My problems every time I build something, some new bells and whistle come out next. Don't add bells and whistle unless you need them. You know, like I said, it's a stealth burner here. I like the stealth burner. It looks good. It does everything I need. I can print plenty of fast. Can't talk, but I can print plenty fast for my needs. So I don't really need anything. And quite frankly, I'd rather build another printer than spend a ton of money upgrading one that I have. If there comes a time, like I do have one 2.4 that's completely ripped apart that I plan on rebuilding, but if it comes apart, we're so far behind that you want to make changes, just rebuild the whole damn printer. It's a lot of fun, right? Let's see, Galileo 2 extruder. Yeah, the Galileo and the Orbiter, Orbiter 2.5, which I think there's a 3 now, are really good extruders. Very similar in the way they work. The rat rig that's down there on the floor actually is using Orbiters. So yeah, I went with an LDO 2.4 kit for USB and wouldn't have to deal with the small wires. Yeah, that's very true. You miss out on dealing with a bunch of 24 gauge wires. But like I said, continuity is easy to check. It depends. Are you a physical, mechanical type of person, or are you a, computer / code type of person? Or you do both. If you do both, great, you're a jack of all trades. If you like mechanical things where you think if it's here, it should be here, then having wires going from here to there makes sense. If you're the programmer, the guy that kind of likes computer type stuff, then going through and basically having all of those, those switches, because that's all this basically comes down to, switches and ons and offs. If you don't mind those getting converted from manual to digital and back out to manual in the form of, motion in the motor, then hey, it does eliminate a lot of the wires that you have to deal with. yeah, talking a lot. I have more wires break with umbilicals right at the tool head where it bends due to the sealing trying to minimize height. Yep, I can see that 100%. I have not had that issue, but I could definitely see that. Like I said, it's difficult. It's really up there close. That's actually something that you don't think about until you're doing it, and then once you've done it, it's like an uh-oh moment or a oh well moment. You're just gonna keep going with it, which I just kept going with it. So you can see it right here. There's not a lot of extra room in here. I do have a stress relief. My stress relief comes down. Actually, let me get behind here. The stress relief actually comes down on this thing. And let me get this thing back up. Bear with me. So yeah, the stress release actually comes down. This is a modded part right here, so it afforded me to be able to mount that approximately midway where the stepper was, where the NEMA stepper is there in the back. So it's actually only maybe about an inch above the actual stealth burner once it leaves the stress relief. But still, it's just, you know, I'm not a huge fan, like I said. The only thing I have trouble with is the wiring actually where it comes out of the umbilical and connects to the board on the side here. This connector right here gets a little loose, and for the longest time I thought I was actually having issues with electrical interference because we're running USB up here, and these are 48 volt motors in the back. But I eventually figured out that this right here comes loose on the back side here. So every once in a while I just make sure it's snug, kind of a routine maintenance thing. Yeah, Trident top hat. So just like we were talking about, where you could build like a larger frame for a printer and get more out of it because you have more room to work with. You could build a 6-inch top hat. You can buy extrusions. Nothing's stopping you from doing it. I think it'd look a little silly. I'm not a big fan of the top hats, but you could do it. I'm a fan of making things that look, at least what I think look good, but are also functional. So like this, I don't know if you guys caught this, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with these at all, but these clips that I use, I used to use the clamping clips, or at least those are on that printer back there. But these I like even better. They may not look as fancy, but these basically is twist lock. So they're friction fit. They look like that, and they twist lock on there, and makes it super easy to get into the printer if you need to. And I have them on all the panels. So that's something that's actually different from the build manual as well. I don't know if a lot of people actually use the clips that the Voron team has designed for their printers on these, but this is my preferred way of attachment. It's just super quick. But I'm going to loop back over to the furthest thing again, because let's see, what tool head board, Nighthawk. Yes, it is a Nighthawk. It is a USB Nighthawk. There's not much else I can say about it, really. It's a USB Nighthawk. Down in here, and I think we're going to get a better view from this other camera. So pardon me as I move stuff around. But down in here, I actually did something kind of cool. I did something kind of neat. I used a product that was designed by, I think it's Frizzy. I forget exactly what the name is. Hold on, let me find it. Bear with me here. basically what it is, it's a mounting system for your electronics that's printed, and it's built on basically having the the hexagons that I'll show you what those look like. The hexagons that you see a lot on a lot of the patterns for the Voron stuff and some other things as well. And what's neat about it is the whole thing is covered with it. So you can mount anything pretty much anywhere as you want. Let me see here. Let's see if I can get this. Bear with me. Mounting system. I know. I'll find it eventually. But so what this allows you to do is you print these hexagon style parts, and everything kind of locks in place. So if you wanted to put something, you can basically mount it in there, and you can mount them wherever you want. So you're not stuck with a DIN rail or something similar to that. You can put anything we want, which is kind of what happened here. I actually have a ton of additional room inside here because I use that system to put it together. I have this little, like I was saying before, I have this little drawer I keep in here. It's got fuses for the AC power coming in. It also has all my extra nozzles in it. And a ton of room, really breathable because there's nothing solid. I do have basically my aluminum sheets. I use aluminum on the back, on the bottom here, on the back, and just aluminum on the back and the bottom, and on the top here when this goes back on. So it keeps everything contained. It's really nice. Keeps the heat away from everything. Side blowing fans, just like they call for in the build. But this mounting system is something else. So when I get a chance, I'll at least try to link it in the description once this video is done. So if you are going to do inverted electronics, I definitely would make that one of the things that I would do. If you're not going to do that for your inverted electronics, I don't know that I would bother to do the inverted electronics. So that's how strong I feel about that. And on top of that, that's printed. If it hasn't come out yet, very soon you're going to see an LDO version of this type of kit that basically has the panel in the same shape with the slots all cut out, because it is kind of a lot to print. You're printing off 4 sheets that make up the whole printer. But like if it's not out yet, it should be out soon. An LDO kit to do that as well. So let's see here. Where did I lose stuff here? I want with the LDO USB. Yep, I have. Let's see here. If I had more wires break, umbilical, yep, may need to print. A top hat type, yeah, maybe. Trident top hat. What tool headboard? Nighthawk, yep. Bottom panel, mag clip on 2.4, yep. So the other thing I would mention that people dog me on is going with the classic jog wheel screen. I have touchscreens on printers, and quite frankly, I don't ever use the screen on my printers. I put this on here because to me, it's actually quicker to get through things, to basically rotate this click, than having to go through menus on a touch screen. So this is strictly for convenience, not for looks, I guess. I mean, it is designed and it's matching the color scheme, but I'm still a fan of the simplistic ease of use and the quickness that you can get when you do it with a toggle, basically a jog and a push. So if you're most of the kits now come with touchscreens just because better touchscreen. I don't know. Which I don't have an issue with touchscreens. They work just fine. Like I said, that my Minion back there has a touchscreen on it, but I gotta tell you, I actually like these jog wheels and these simple screens. Aside from that, I guess in a hierarchy, this would probably be my first choice to go on a printer. If it was after this, I'd probably go with no screen whatsoever on a printer. Maybe just an emergency button or something on the printer, and then probably a touchscreen would be last. I never really, ever use the screen on my printer. I do most of my slicing in Orca, And when I do my slicing in Orca, I import, I do my slicing, and then I do my preview, and then I send it to print, and then I can see my printer right from my Orca if I choose to. So, you know, it's one less thing to deal with, one less thing to go bad, one less thing to learn too, you know. So let's see, bottom panel, I don't use it at all. So all mine is only there for the looks. I may use my computer as well. Yeah, exactly. Let's see, what else about this thing? Double spool holders on the back. Nothing really major or different about that, really. It is a single tool head printer. But what I do, other than say do, is if I do want to print, I keep two back here, especially if I'm doing something where I'm printing two things at once. And when I'm printing with the bottom, if I want to switch and basically do a filament retraction, and then basically I run this bottom one over the top one in through the feed that way, which makes it pretty easy if I basically want to just switch filaments real quick to do something. Just a little handy tip there, I guess, because it's real easy and cheap to print just another filament mount on the back of the printer there. So I do suggest that as well, just ease of use. Yeah, so this is actually kind of cool. This is a KB3D smooth PEI sheet, which I don't believe are on the store yet, but he had some demo units, and I told him I would buy one because I want a smooth PEI sheet because I was printing some clear stuff, and I got to tell you that I like it a lot. So I don't know how soon he's going to have these, but Chris, when he does have them, the texture on it's just got this really nice satin to it. Everything detaches really well. It's double-sided, which is another good thing. So you have, you know, two sides. So if you completely screw one up, you can flip it over. Or another quick tip, if you do print with different plastics, especially plastics that don't get along with each other, like say ABS and PLA or ABS and PETG, one thing you can do is make sure you print. You can even use a Sharpie if you want it right here on the bottom side where it's not going to print on. But basically, you can use one side for one plastic, one side on the other plastic, and that will save you from having to scrub the bed down too often. And that does remind me of one other quick thing about beds that I've actually learned here recently through some experimentation. I'm just going to put this back together a little bit. Unless anybody has any questions about what's in there, because meanwhile, power supplies, I told you about the electronics in there. The only other thing that's kind of odd, like I said, I had to use a buck converter to get my lighting because I couldn't find black light LEDs in the voltage that I needed, so we made our own voltages. So I guess this right here, a little bit of gaffer's tape just on the front and back, gives me a little tip, makes it easy to pull that out when you want to. So yeah, I was gonna say, little tip, I just came up recently, and I know, or maybe you don't know, but I've been preaching to people for a long time that when you get a new bed, you get a new printer, the first thing you should do is bring your bed to the kitchen sink and use some Dawn or other high quality dish detergent to clean your bed, which I'm still a fan of. But I found that ammonia-free glass cleaner, automotive or industrial commercial glass cleaner, works just as well for a good deep clean on your bed. And I'm guessing it's because when you're cleaning glass, for one, it's a smooth material, and for two, it's to lift grease and smudges off it because nobody likes smudgy glass. So maybe I'm the last one to figure this one out. Maybe everybody already knew this, but this is my new go-to when I'm cleaning my printer. I mean, I literally just have my fingers all over this thing. So when I'm cleaning my beds now, I jump right on them with some glass cleaner. Wipe them until they're dry. It tends to dry pretty quickly. It's not too bad. And then I hit them with some isopropyl alcohol just to give them a final clean. But this is now my new go-to, and I have not had any issues whatsoever. It's worked awesome. So there's a good quick tip. And this is Sprayway. Stoner also makes a good product that will work as well. But that's that. That's a good one, right? Let's see here. So am I doing using your tip? Are you using tap? Yes, I am 100% using tap. That is a Vitali tap. And I'm going to scroll over the computer here in a second and show you some of that stuff. Vitali tap, so basically it's an aluminum CNC version of the tap. It's not a printed tap. It's not a Chaotic Labs tap. That guy back there, the Minion, does have a Chaotic Labs tap on it. I have had a few issues with it over the past, I think, couple of years now. Basically, they try to make it so light. I want to say thin and possibly a little cheap, but they try to make it so light light that some of the screws kind of strip out of it really easily. It's aluminum. Aluminum's not exactly, a really strong metal. It's pretty ductile. It can bend and mend pretty easily, but not wholly impressed with the Chaotic Labs long term. I do, like I said, it's really light. This Vitali version is really awesome. It's definitely a higher quality piece. The machining on it's awesome. Like I said, I'll pull it up on the computer in a few seconds, but yeah, that's that. You also notice that, I don't know if it comes up on camera, but this is actually VT0001. This was the first Voron Trident kit that KB3D put together. I had a lot of requests. And this goes out basically to pretty much any of the smaller 3D kit and sales companies. Your Fabrico, your West, your KB3D. If you work with these guys, they will make you, usually, this time of year might be a little bit more difficult, but they will make you the kit based on what you specifically need, because they can get, like I said, you can get the LDO frame kit and you can get the LDO motor kit, and then maybe you want to go with a black stainless, screw kit if that's available. Or maybe you want, instead of the standard lead screws, you want to go with the coated lead screws. Instead of, the clear panels, you want to go with these, dark mode panels. Instead of, plexi or acrylic panels, you want to go with the ACM panels on your bottom and on your back to try to reserve that heat a little bit more. So it's great to work with those types of guys when you do that. And I guess that's kind of a good segue that will put me on that computer here in a second. Let's see if they have questions. Evening all. Evening, Thomas. Build looks sharp. Curious where you picked up tinted plexi. Yeah, so again, obviously I just answered that, kind of. But just to clarify, 100% KB3D. They call it dark mode over there. I'm sure there's other manufacturers that do it. And quite honestly, Chris over at KB3D and the crew, they get a lot of that type of stuff. I'm not sure about these panels specifically, but they get a lot of stuff through MRW, Mandela Roseworks. They can also do, and I guess it'd be for a different day, but this one actually, can I take this off quick? Let me show you. Let me show you something. You guys want to see something cool? I think it's cool. I think you'll think it's cool. I don't know. It's been a while since I've taken anything off on this one. Am I going to get it off here? Yep. Yeah, there we go. All right, so that right there is laser etched. So I was talking when I was building that printer and I was getting parts for that, again, semi-custom. I said, would this be possible? And went back and forth, and then finally we made it happen. So I had my logo. I was able to convert it to a file type they were able to use. I personally don't have laser equipment to do etching. Maybe you do. But they were able to do this. Actually, laser etching on clear plastic just bends my mind a little bit because laser, right? But yeah, so custom stuff like this is doable. And this is just what I chose to put on it. It could be whatever you want. This is a clear panel. At one point in time, I was trying to do LED lights on the sides to have this backlight so this lit up, kind of like a sign type of thing. Never got the effect I wanted to, and it was kind of a little bit bulky, so I decided not to go with it. But yeah, dark mode panels, clear panels with you know, basically etching on them. The back panel on that one actually has, it's an ACM panel on that one. It's black, but it has been laser engraved with the Voron logo. And if you remember the old school Voron kind of picture thing that had all the Voron parts on it and they were all scattered about, that's also on that printer back there. So you can do some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, so talk to those guys. Like I said, I specifically usually work with KB3D. But a lot of those guys, those, you know, those small, and when I say small, I have no idea actually how big they are. But generally, your hobbyist centric type guys will definitely help you out to get some of that stuff if you want it. They think it's as cool as you do. And honestly, they don't charge you an arm and a leg for it. They probably charge you less than they probably should for a lot of that stuff. And it's just the way it is. So you reap the benefit. So let's bring this up. And I'm actually on KB3D's website. So I'm going to bring you over to here. Picture in picture. So this is KB3D's running a race sale right now. And he's not paying me to do this or anything like that. I actually asked him if I could show his website during the stream. And I asked him because there's a couple things, like you asked about the tap in here. It's a Vitali tap. I wanted to be able to come on here and kind of show you, you know, what that looks like, because I don't have it to take it out. So it's out of stock right now. But there it is. That is the Vitali tap. And it comes in 3 pieces, but it also comes with all the hardware to put it together. As you can see, it's machined really well. It's a very nice piece. You know, these are semi-custom pieces, and it's definitely not cheap. And when I say definitely not cheap, I mean it's not expensive. I mean, it's 40 bucks, but it's not cheap. It's a good product. It works well. And one of the good things Chris does here is he actually has other things that you might want to go with that. So that's pretty cool. But that right there is a Vitali tap. It goes together and it makes up the tap for you. It works really well. I like it. Let me see here. There's something else. In terms of kits, if you come in here and you want to do a kit, you can do kits as well. So if we go Voron, I'll just type in Voron. And you guys probably already use Chris, but I show it anyways because I think it's cool. You know, if you want to do a clicky clack door, you got one right here. You go and do your clicky clack. We were talking about the orbiter earlier, the Galileo and the orbiters. They're here. You know, you can add them, modify a kit with that. Right there is what the Vitali CNC machine carriage is for a beacon. If you needed to get, let's see here what else there is. Clockwork parts. All right, so here's one thing I don't like. If you're buying printed parts for a clockwork and you're building a Voron, stop. Don't build a Voron. You should be able to print your own parts for those things because you're going to have a lot more than that to print. So generally speaking, this is where I come to buy stuff. And it looks like you're selling a lot more plastic stuff. Top hat panels, ACM panels right here, like we were talking about. And those basically have the sandwiched aluminum with plastic in between 2 sheets of aluminum. Those work really good. Those are really good if you want to basically make sure your printer stays as warm as possible. Also, they actually look really good, and they also dampen sound a little bit better than the plexi or the acrylic sheets you can get on the printers. So I'm a big fan of those. Whoops. Frame wise, like 2.4 frame complete. Like I was saying earlier, you could build a 350 or 300 or whatever, and then basically go and build a smaller printer within a bigger frame, and that'll give you extra room to do other things if you wanted to. These things allow you to do that as opposed to buying one kit with everything in it all at once. Let's see here. Oh, just while we're at it, don't build a Voron Zero. If you want to know why, you can ask me, but I do not suggest building a Voron Zero. I think the umbilical, yep, linear umbilical harnesses. That one's different than what I have, but Chris does have those as well. Those worked really well from Lineo. Lineo does some good stuff. And let's see if there's anything else I really want to show you guys on this. Oh, there's the Roseworks. So these are the beds, the ultra flat mag bed. So basically what I was showing you earlier. And I don't know if they say it here, but here's talking about the beds and them working with basically an eddy current. They say it doesn't work. I will agree with that now, but I also say that the Beacon's website said when you're using the touch version of the Beacon, it's supposed to work. Did not work for me. Voron Trident right here, high temp motor stepper, 3-piece for clockwork. So you have your A, B, and you have a stepper motor there for your extruder. Or if you just wanted to get, frankly, stepper motors. Oh. Anyways, if you just want to get stepper motors and get those too. So it's pretty cool. You can just buy anything you want. Let's see, build looks good, looks sharp, tinted panels, yep. 6mm ACM is killer, but you definitely need to verify the method of attach is compatible. Yeah, I don't know if you're here, but this is my favorite method of attachment. These little guys right here. These are super, super, super simple. These are just little L-shaped widgets. I don't know what else to call them. I don't know how, whoop, I'm gonna lose them. They're just like that, and if you need to print a different size, they're available. Again, I'll try to put a link in the description, but these are pretty cool. You can look for these, and they work really well, off and on in literally a second. And you put 2 on each side, you're good to go. And then the other thing about those as well is if you wanted to modify them, even if you don't know anything about CAD, you can bring those in Tinkercad and modify them a little bit. I tend to go about 1/2 millimeter smaller than even the ones that they say to go with the panels because I like to squeeze my panels. So yeah, agreed, but not a huge issue. You got ACM panels on 2.4? Yes. So on the 2.4, there's ACM on the bottom, ACM on the back. Same as I did here again, but I did clear around the tops, the side. In the front door, but yeah, ACM on the bottom of the 2.4 as well as on the back. And then the other 2.4 I have, which is the Super Voron that I just still haven't put back together, that was ACM panels, sides, top, bottom, back, and everything pretty much except for the front were all ACM on that one. And I did that for rigidness, and on that one, do I have it? Yeah, right here. That's some stuff I was going to play with. On that one, I've actually gonna go ahead and be using these types, which is something I'm designing. Basically, it's a 3-piece, or actually a 2-piece per side. So large corner, small filler, and then large corner and around the whole thing to basically give it a more finished look. But on top of that, it also locks the panels on 100%. Nice and tight, so you can kind of make yourself like a really well sealed printer box. And I'm not aware of anybody else. If you know somebody that's making a full cover thing like that, that'd be awesome. I mean, I'm doing it, but I'm getting better in CAD, but I'm not great. So yeah, stealth changer. Yeah, you can make a stealth changer. I'm not going to do the stealth changer. I love my V0.2. Coming clutch when doing stealth changer for my 2.4. Yeah, I'm glad you like your Voron Zero. But I got to ask you, how did you enjoy the build? You might like using it, and I agree, it's a great little printer to have, but the build is atrocious. Sliding nuts inside of extrusions over and over and over again. it was not my favorite. It's actually my least favorite build I've ever done. You know, if we're gonna play those roles, I think the Trident probably was my favorite build, even though it was difficult for me to do with the injury I had, 2 injuries I had. The 2.4s, I'm just a glutton for punishment, so I built 2 of them. But I do love my minion just for what it looks like and how it works. I mean, it works really well. But the Voron Zero is just, you couldn't pay me to build a Voron Zero. I just, it's not, the amount of effort that goes into building it is not worth the final outcome product. It takes almost as long to build one of these, for me, as it does to build this. And this I can get a lot more out of. I mean, the bed on the Voron Zero is this big. Oh, speaking of which, it's kind of neat. I'll show you that real quick. So there's not something from KB3D that I have them do. That's basically a laser etch of my logo in the bed. So, like I said, you ask these guys for things, and it may cost you a couple bucks, but it's not huge expense. They can do some stuff. They really can do some stuff. So, yeah. Not a fan. Let's see here. I had no issues with the build. I didn't have issues with the build. I just didn't like sliding the nuts in constantly. I didn't want to build. I think a lot of people forget that there really is 2 hobbies at hand. You either, or actually there's 3 different ways you can go. You either are building printers because you enjoy the hobby of building printers and tinkering with printers and modifying printers, and you're building the tool, right? It's really kind of root material there. But there's a whole different hobby, and it has nothing to do with this hobby, when you want to buy a 3D printer because you want to print cool stuff. And cool stuff could be engineering type stuff. You know, you could be, you know, building modifications or, you know, mounts or things like that. Or you could be building, you know, trinkets. You could be building, you know, rainbow dragons articulating stuff. You could build fidgets. But different hobbies completely. And then you got people that want to do both, which is cool. But just an opinion to throw out there. If you watch this and you're kind of, you know, especially this time of year, and you're thinking about, you know, do I want to buy a 3D printer? What do I want to know about 3D printer? And by the way, ask questions. That's why I'm here today. It's something you got to figure out. Do you want to be in the 3D printer hobby, or do you want to be in a 3D printer hobby, which means print things? I will tell you that building a 3D printer as your first 3D printer hobby is an undertaking. It's a lot to learn. It really is. The Solvo printers, which are kind of I hate the word knockoff, but they're very close to like a 2.4. They make their own version of it. But for the price, you can't beat it. You can buy a completely manufactured printer that is probably 70, maybe 85% of the quality. And the quality is dependent on you, really, if you build it yourself. So it might be 110% of the quality, quite frankly, for less than you can buy the kit to build the printer. So Solvo units, I don't have a problem whatsoever. Let me see here. I think I was going to come to this eventually, but printers for all flavors. Yeah, so kind of went the wrong place there. But so Solvo makes a couple different units. This is like the cheap version here. This is the SV06. They also make an SV08. And you're never going to build a printer. I mean, you could if you got free parts, but it's going to be very difficult for you to build a printer for $189, you know? And then an SV08, let me look that one up real quick. SV08. And somehow I wound up with a Meta Quest. Let's figure that one out here. SV08 right there. So SV08, that's what we're looking at right now, which is kind of a very close clone to a Voron 2.4. Matter of fact, if you look closely back here at the AB units, go away. The AB units, right there on the back side, those look almost exactly like the ones that you would 3D print if you're doing it yourself. So interesting stuff. And then for $500, that is roughly half the price of what it would cost you to build a kit, and you'd still have to build the kit. So like I said, it's tough to advise anybody to build a 3D printer for their first 3D printer. It's now gone to a point where you can buy decently priced, decently sized, decently manufactured 3D printers that work relatively well. I have a bunch of opinions as to what specifically you should look for in a 3D printer. If you wonder, or if you have your own opinions, share them, ask, and we'll go into that. But you know, there's a lot of stuff out there you can work with. Audio is crackling. Okay, well, mic battery? I don't think so. Maybe it was, should be okay now. Okay, it's back now, good. Interesting. Hopefully we're good. Still crackling. Mic audio still crackling. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Is it still crackling? Test 1, 2, 3. All right. Still bad. Well, stand by a quick second. Let's see what I can do. Some people say no, some people saying yes. Stand by. Test 1, 2, 3. I've actually never had a crackling mic. Test 1, 2, 3. Is that better? Might be time to go to bed if it's still crackling. Let me know that's better. Still cracking. Well, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It cut out completely for a bit, came back crackling. Well, 100% went out because I turned it off and back on. Well, let me do this. See, you need to change your camera resolution. It's not supported for this configuration. Expected. Well, YouTube is currently yelling at me because they think my video resolution is too high. So I don't know if that's part of the issue. But I'm going to continue to ignore that. I don't have any idea why my video would be crackling. I find this very odd. Yeah, if there is anybody named Mike, I'd love a mic check. All right, let's see. Noise suppression is turned on. Let's turn that off. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, okay. Well, that's odd. Very odd. I've never really had mic issues, so I apologize. Hopefully that doesn't come back. Wouldn't buy the Solvol SV08. The SV08 Max is a lot issues in their original SV08. Yeah, that's an opinion. I personally don't own an SV08 or an SV08 Max, so apologize about the mic, you know, it's just in general. And generally, the Sovals are decent printers. You know, you also have the Cuties, which some people have had some issues with them being safe. You also have, you know, obviously the Prusas. The Prusas are great. And for all intents and purposes, my actual favorite still to this day, and I think it's a gateway thing, is Creality. Let me just get Creality punched in here. And the Creality K1, the K2, these Creality printers, you know, for what you get for a printer, for the cost, is just amazing. So let's look at this real quick for a quick second. This right here is a 350 by 350 printer combo. Also comes with a multi-filament AMS that goes on top of it. And basically all this is coming in at a price that's pretty much equal to, all right, no one's yelling about the mic, I had to check. Pretty much equal to what you'd pay for a kit for a Voron. So, you know, $1,000, $1,100, something like that. You know, you're not going to be able to build something easily. You know, if you really try hard, you might be able to get away with it, but you're not easily going to build something that's going to be as capable as one of these pre-made printers from one of these manufacturers. And, you know, there's a lot of, Creality being specific to a printer company that's had a lot of crap thrown at them because they are the quintessential with their Ender 3, the cheap printer. And they made them for a long time, and they should have stopped making them before they stopped making them. But people were still buying them, and they were cheap. They were manufacturing them cheap, and they were selling them pretty cheap. I mean, they were like, you can get them for like $2.99. Heck, you might be able to get one now for under $200 if you look. I'm not even gonna look, but my first printer was an Ender 5, and it was my gateway printer. I had the Ender 5. It worked really well. It was a little noisy for my liking, so I looked at how I could change that. So I upgraded the MCU, the controller board inside the printer. When I did that, I also was like, well, you know, I'm doing this. I wonder if I can make it any faster. So then I found Clipper, and then once I found Clipper, guess what I found? I found Voron, and I started building Voron printers. So that was my gateway printer. I got a small, very small soft spot in my heart for Creality and their Ender products. So. And again, it's a hobby. So is your hobby the printers, or is your hobby what you want to print? That's what you got to think about. All right. Let's see here. Is anyone heard? All right. No one's talking about Mike. No one's talking about anything else. Okay. Fill in some blanks. All right. So I'm not going to get into too deep about printers and you know, the cost on printers and stuff like that. And I've already talked about you know, trying to support the small guy. And I'm a big fan of that. Like I said, your Fabricos, your West Coast, your KB3D, those are the guys that you're going to want to go to. And quite frankly, they're going to provide you better support in a lot of cases than the actual manufacturers. Because a lot of this stuff does come from China, and I have nothing against products that come from China specifically. But sometimes it can be difficult to get the type of service that people are used to. And YouTube's a worldwide audience. So I think everybody understands that when you have something local, sometimes it's a little easier to get that service and support that you need. So again, I'm a big fan of you supporting the local guy if you can. And when I say local, I mean it could be somebody, if you're in Europe, that's also in Europe. You know, if you're in Portugal, it could be somebody that's also in Portugal, or it could be somebody that's in, you know, Spain or Germany or whatever. You know, and if you're in the United States, it could be a Canadian company, it could be an American company. It works both ways. Just somebody that's more local to you, because it just, you know, I don't know what it is, but the service that you get for somebody that's local tends to be better. Yeah. So let's see here. We talked about that. We talked about this, which is kind of the big thing I want to talk about. And again, I'm super happy with the Trident. I would definitely build another one for myself, not for somebody else. I've never built a printer for somebody else. You couldn't pay me enough to build a printer for somebody else. You definitely, I would, again, no harm, no foul, no not talking bad about anybody or stuff like that, but I would not build another V0 for myself if you paid me. If you provide me the kit and then gave me money to build it, I wouldn't do it. So yeah, so the 2.4 is a great printer. The Trident's a good printer. The 0 is also a good printer, but it's just a bear to put together if you have large hands or if you just don't like tedious work. The complete opposite of that is the guy that's over there on the floor, and I don't want to bring it back on the desk just during this, but I will tell you that this printer is huge. The streaming of the build on this, or not streaming, but the videos from the build on this are going pretty well. It's a very heavy printer, this rat rig. And if you're not familiar with the rat rig that I've been building, it is right here. So the rat rig is a very large Core XY printer. And this is just the frame here, and to put that in perspective, that right there fits a 500 millimeter bed. And the printer itself is roughly 32 by 32 by about 42. It's just huge. It's a huge printer. It's been fun. And if you haven't caught the videos on me building that, these connectors right here are pretty interesting. First time I've ever seen anything like that. You know, the phrase IKEA furniture comes to mind, but it's kind of a really good way, a really interesting way to put that frame together. I'm not saying I've enjoyed putting the frame together, but I will say that it's a good way for the frame to go together. It locks right in there, and they use basically a cam that's very well machined with a point, and basically it pulls it together as you're doing it, as opposed to screwing it together. And also the forces on that, because of the fact that it's you know, the forces aren't directly on the screws or anything like that, it's the chances of it coming loose are slim to none. So pretty interesting there. All right, other things I work on. So other things I work on, I haven't done anything on the video or any streams or anything like that, but just to put it out there for people. I've been playing with CAD. I've been building my own products, things like that. This right here is a notification light that I've been working on. Basically, this has been fun. This is something, and let me know if you're interested in this type of video too, because I've been kind of toying around with the idea of doing some other videos. A lot of people now that did 3D printer videos are doing other things now. And I don't want to keep building printers forever because I don't have room. I really don't, and I don't want to do it for other people. But so teaching myself CAD, building CAD, also teaching myself C++ and Python. This is a notification light that I've been working on in spare time. And basically what this does is it runs a small web server on the inside of it, allows you to mount this on a door frame or doorway or wherever, and then basically project a light with a color, red for busy, green for okay, blue for whatever. It's a RGB LED, so you can do whatever, but basically CAD, 3D printing, programming, all those things put together in kind of a maker type device that let's see, all in cost of parts is probably $12, maybe $15 US. So kind of a neat thing I've been working on. No videos or anything on that. If you are interested in that type of thing, let me know. Leave a comment on this video. That'd be good. Basically on these, I'm using some Seed Studios, some ESP32s that have Wi-Fi, and they also have Zigbee in them and some other things in there. And I just want to talk about trial and error a little bit. I'm going to check the comments here real quick. Are you doing IDEX or hybrid on the VCore 4? Talk about that in a quick second. Very, very hard to square at that size. I agree. But we'll talk about that in a quick second. Thanks for those things. That brings me back into that, and we'll get right into that. Talking about trial and error with something like this, because this is not the first version of this. I've done so many versions of this. I've done with a round lens. I mean, even making a lens. Have you ever tried to design a lens and 3D print a lens? It's a fun thing to do. But yeah, so multiple designs, different things to come up with. This is the fun stuff that you can do as a maker when you have a 3D printer and you get into that type of stuff, because it pretty much opens up to, again, I said, the Ender 3, the Ender 5, Creality is a gateway. Once you have a printer and you can basically print whatever you want, whether you find something on Printables or Thingiverse or any of the other dozen or so you know, STL file sites, or you design your own in CAD, which is another thing I kind of thinking about making some videos about, because getting a little bit better at it. But you basically can do anything you want. You know, you can come into it, you start playing with Pico Pis, ESP32s, you know, design in CAD, making lenses, starting with an idea that doesn't work at all, then narrowing it down to things. And you know, there's so much trial and error in this little box of things that I tried, and then landed on this style of device that it's pretty fun if you're into that type of thing. It's like I said, it's a good way to get that type of thing. Keeps your brain going whether you're getting a little older and you want to keep flexible, or if you got kids, grandkids, whatever. Probably ages 5 and up. You know, at the young age, I might be interested in some fidgets or toys. When I get older, you know, that can grow into stuff. And pretty much that's why I started this channel, is so that people, my kids included, would have something to look back on and see a progression and see the cool things you can do to continue to learn, whether you're, again, 5 or, you know, 85. So, yeah, so on the VCore 4 that's on the floor, it is a hybrid. It runs a hybrid drive, but it is running the IDEX. So the hybrid, when it comes to the VCore 4, obviously you know, but so other people don't, you can buy just a VCore 4 rat rig. Let me get the Rat Rig's website while I'm talking, so pardon me not looking at the camera. But you can buy the Rat Rig VCore 4 printer, and it comes as a VCore 4. And that's what it looks like on their website. So, not that. That's not what it looks like. It looks like this. So, Rat Rig comes as a VCore 4. And comes in 3 different sizes, a 300 millimeter, 400, and a 500, which kind of opens my gate and my mouth and my brain into saying, if you think you want a 500 millimeter printer, think again, you probably don't. It's really large. I don't have the build plate out right now. Maybe next time I do a live stream, I'll grab that. But the build plate is 500 millimeters. I mean, get a tape measure. You can do it yourself. It's huge. Can you print some really cool stuff? Yeah, you could print a full-size keyboard or 2 or 3 at the same time, but do you really need that? You know, if you want to build like a R2-D2, yeah, you could probably build it in just a couple prints. You probably do 4 prints. You can print the whole thing, do the whole cylinder in one shot, you know? But it's a huge printer. So the VCore comes basically as a core kit like this, and that price looks really low. I don't know why it's so low. That's interesting. That makes me feel bad to myself. Let's see, I did a 500. Oh, there we go. There's some pricing. And then you basically have to buy the whole kit, or you don't have to, actually. It looks like they're splitting it up for you now. So that's a machine. I'm questioning now what this kit comes. Premium kit. Okay. So it looks like you have to buy the electronics separately now, and then basically you buy a hybrid. So what the hybrid does is the hybrid adds additional 2 more motors on your AB. So on a Core XY printer, you have an A and a B motor, not an X and a Y motor, because they're worked either in unison or separately, depending on whether or not you're doing, you know, X or a Y or a combination of that movement. And it's a hard thing for people to wrap their heads around, but and this is completely not the way it works, but it's similar to how an Etch-a-Sketch works. You know, things are moving around at the same time. So if only one motor moves at a time, basically you're doing a 45-degree angle on a Core XY printer. You're going like this, or you're going like this. If they're both moving at the same time, you can move, you know, on your AB motors. You move on your X or your Y. Depending on how those are moving, but when they're only moving in one direction, it's X or Y. When they're both moving at the same time, you know, you're getting more power, more ability to move quickly with that. So what they did with the hybrid with Rat Rig here is they basically allowed us to, and they can also do this on a Voron. There's a 4-wheel drive mod that they call it. So there's actually 4 stepper motors running the drive. But on the hybrid kit for the Rat Rig, what they've done is they've gone ahead and they've added that to make it either be higher powered, like a four-wheel drive type scenario, or they allow you to add this IDEX system, which basically gives you two tool heads, if you're not familiar with that. And when you do IDEX, let me see if I can get this up here. What IDEX is, if you're not aware, is two print heads. So you might ask yourself, what can I do with two print heads? And the answer is so much. You can do so much with two print heads. Let's start off with, when you got two print heads, you can do a mirror mode, which means if you're printing one thing at one time, you can print the other thing exactly the same on the other side at the same time using the other print head, because basically, you know, they can move separately to the left or right, but obviously since they're, you know, on your printer, being simple now, left or right, they can do separately. So they can do this, but they're also on the same gantry, so they're going to move back and forth at the same time. So you can do a mirrored mode, which means that you print two things at the same time using two different heads, so you print twice as fast. You can also basically have one parked to the side while one prints, and then have the other one come over and do a second color, or you could do it for, you know, if you need to do some type of, you know, there's just so much you can do with it. You can just basically do colors, you could do different materials, you could do pretty much anything you want as long as the materials work together. I'm more interested in it for basically printing fast and printing two colors once in a while. If I was to build a printer to print a lot of multicolors, then I would do either a tool head changer or a AMS style, like a turtle box, which I have one. I haven't put it together yet because I'm not all that into it. One of the big things that I have a question about, and I've already been told it's not doable, but I'm wondering if it could be doable, is to basically add an AMS style unit, a turtle box per se, to an IDEX printer, so, or two turtle boxes. So you can do basically multicolors on both. The reason why people say no, and the reason why it's not worked out yet, in Clipper, you probably could do it with a Duet, big, you know, rabbit hole to go down to, but is on a Clipper unit, you can only do one thing at a time, which means that you couldn't pull it off to the side, have that loading a new filament while the other print head keeps on going, which is why I was thinking to do that. Because right now, in the state of where the equipment is, basically when you're using multiple tool heads or using an AMS or any type of thing where you're changing filaments or print heads, your printer stops and does just that function until it's done, and then it starts printing again. And I always thought it'd be neat if you could basically have one head printing while the other head changes colors or does something else. So yeah, that's your long answer to a short question. It's an IDEX printer. Let's see, let's see here. I built two rat rig 500 machines, and if you build on granite plate, the square is amazing. Plus minus 1 millimeter corner, all measurements. Yeah, the squaring of the frame isn't that difficult, especially with the method that they're putting things together with those draw-in screws. I don't know if there's a specific name for those, honestly, but it makes it very difficult to be too far out of whack. I'm using an engineering square to build mine. I had a 24 by 24 inch piece of marble that I was using to build it on, but it's not big enough, and I don't have anything bigger. So I wound up just going back to using my engineering square and just doing it manually, doing it the old-fashioned way. But thus far, it seems like it's pretty dead nuts on, and I haven't had to do much finagling to get it, you know, to square where I want it. Let's see here, what do we have? I filled my 500 plate many times, but never printed as much, much over 400 millimeters on a single part. See, that's a big thing too, is if you have, you know, this is an arguable fact to me, arguable to some if you want to, but if you have a 300 printer, you have a 400 printer, you have a 500 printer, the last thing you really want to do is print edge to edge, especially with most materials, you know, your ABS, your ASA, your nylon, your PA6. And the reason for that is, you know, no matter how good your printer heater is, your bed is,
you're always going to have it be slightly cooler on the edges, which means there's going to be more prone to warping. You know, on a 300 millimeter printer, I think you're probably safe. Personally, I wouldn't go much beyond 250, 275. On a 400, you know, same thing. You probably wouldn't go much beyond 350, 375. And then on a 500, you know, 450, 475. You always want to leave a little bit of a space around there, simply because two things come into play. One is the, need a drink. One is the temperature difference of the edges of the bed. And the second thing is, even on a bed like this, and I see people coming and going, so I don't know who's actually seen anything, but they can go back and play it. But even on a bed like this where you have very strong, I mean, I can lift up this whole bed. I can, you know, just with my build plate, right here, I can lift up the bed off my kinematics mount. Like that. But even with that, the problem is if you get too close to the bed on the edges here, with like an ABS or an ASA, or any other, basically any other plastic that performs a similar function as those, so your nylons, your polycarbonates, anything like that, is it's going to start peeling up the corners, the sides, just a little bit like that. So it's the last thing you want to happen when you're printing something, especially one of those nice plastics. So I don't usually get too close to the edges of the bed. I stay away from that. So let's see here. The hybrid is highly recommended. I built the IDEX first and the hybrid second. The IDEX just adds way too much complexity. Okay. It's kind of interesting you're saying that, because you can't have an IDEX without the hybrid, and you already have the belts there. You're pretty much just connecting the belts to the second head as opposed to the primary head. I haven't done it yet, but I get it. But that's kind of an interesting comment, really. But like I said, I get it. Let's see. That's that. We've talked about just about everything I wanted to talk about today. Anybody have any other questions about the Trident or 2.4, even the Zero, the rat rig, Clipper in general? Anything specific? I'm more than happy to talk about it. Continue the conversation. Throw it out there right now, since people seem to be dwindling off here. It's roughly 9:30 my time, Eastern Standard Time. You know, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, by all means, hit that subscribe button. I don't know how many people hit liked on this right now. I'm not really monitoring it. But, you know, give a like to the stream if you enjoyed it, if you've been around for a while here and you're kind of digging the conversation. I don't do a lot of live streams. I definitely don't do any live building. And it's not because I don't like live building. It's because I don't like watching live builds. So it's not really my gig. I think it takes too long for both the person building as well as people watching. I'd rather not take 3 hours to do something. I should take one, and then making a video out of it. And that's not meant to be offensive. That's just how it is when you're talking to people. It's just a little tough. Yeah, I'll have a great night, and thank you for the comment. Discord, Renee says. So yeah, I will. Let me go ahead and do it now. I'll post a link to the Discord. Let me do that right now. I'll be off camera here for a second. So link to the Discord if you guys are interested, if you guys want to join kind of the party over there. And every once in a while, more than happy to facilitate some conversations in there. So let me just do an invite. Let me do this to the channel. Bear with me. Let's do this, and we're going to paste it here in the chat. That right there, that should get you into the Discord if you're interested. I just put that up there. Not a huge community, but collectively a lot of knowledge in there, and not busy, not all over the place. I wasn't a big fan of Discord. My first use of Discord really was with the Voron Discord back, I think 4 years ago or so now. roughly. And it gets very hectic very quickly. So I try not to do that in our Discord. We try to keep it small. You know, it's there to help people, and that's kind of why I'm here as well. So I guess we'll leave this open here for a couple minutes, and then maybe I'll pop back into the Discord on the live or on a voice channel, video voice channel on that, just for a few minutes in case somebody wants to jump in. But hey, I appreciate everybody stopping in. Had fun talking about the Trident printer. And again, if you did watch some of that build, if you watched most of that build, whatever, or if you haven't, you can go check it out now. But between the ankle injury I had and then the surgery I had on my arm, I had to cut that short. I couldn't finish it all the way. So this is what it came out to be, and I'm very happy. I'm very proud of this printer. It works really well. I haven't had any major issues with it whatsoever. And again, you know, some minor things that I would do differently. Not sure if I'd do an umbilical again if I had choice. The tap, honestly, I like the tap. I know a lot of people talk bad about it nowadays, but tap works good. The inverted electronics, again, something I would definitely do again. No problem there. Beats flipping the printer over. Not that I have to deal with the electronics very often, but having a little bit of storage underneath there is nice as well. So that's it's been a fun printer. Welcome back to streaming, bud. Well, thank you. I'm going to try to do these streams probably about every month or so. Not daily, not weekly or anything like that. I'm not crazy. I can still continue the videos. We'll do the rat rig build. We're going to do some videos on that all the way through till the end, assuming I don't get majorly injured again. Want to do some CAD videos, so leave comments down below if you're watching this video live or after the fact, if you're interested in those types of things. And actually, anything you're interested in, you know, I'm not going to plead with you to leave comments, but it'd be really awesome if you would, because it's really helpful, you know, in general. If you this is like your opportunity to choose what people talk about, so you get to see more content of the stuff that you want to see. So just throwing it out there. If you leave comments, I'd be more than happy to at least consider doing certain things like CAD or even programming, Python programming, C++, microcontrols, like I was saying, this little thing that we've been working with here, these projects in general. Or maybe just want to see me build more printers. If that's your gig, let me know that too, because, you know, I don't have a lot of room, but we can start tearing them apart and rebuilding new ones with upgraded parts. I can do that. So, all right, guys, I'm going to say goodnight. I've had some fun. Hopefully you did too. And hopefully I see you again soon. So take it easy. I'll be on the Discord for a little bit.